be maybe I'm wrong, okay, but I believe that all the energies may have a good impact on humanity. Our history shows, okay, that all this technology may be used on a good way, on a bad way. We just have to focus on the good way to use it.
Welcome to The Future of, a podcast by Fresh Consulting, where we discuss and learn about the future of different industries, markets, and technology verticals. Together, we'll chat with leaders and experts in the field and discuss how we can shape the future human experience. I'm your host, Jeff Dance. Hello, welcome to the future of satellite internet access and just internet access in general. This is another episode of the Future of program. I'm here with the founder of Sateliot and Jaume Sanpera. Welcome from Barcelona.
Thank you very much, Jeff. A pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you. For the audience, to get to know you a little bit better, can you tell us more about your background and your experience with, telecommunications and satellites?
Great. I have been for the last 20 years in the telecommunication sector. I started in rural internet. We incorporate a company that we did an IPO, we take it to public market, and we just exploded and make it available in more than 30 countries around the world. This country was initially based on fixed wireless. That's the technology that allowed you to arrive to these places where most of the telecom operators did not go. Then we switched to satellite when appears the first KU band, which started to be quite efficient in the way they deploy internet access for residential and companies. It was 15 years ago. We did some amazing projects all around the world. In Morocco, for example, we connect 6,000 schools in 3 months. This is one of the examples of what new technologies may do for these underdeveloped or developing countries, okay, in order to bring access of the internet in a very short time.
Thank you. That's fascinating. So you've been the founder of several companies in the telecom kind of space and satellite space. Recently, you founded and are leading Sateliot. Tell us more about this company. I understand you guys recently launched one of your satellites on the Falcon 9 rocket just this month. Tell us more about that and more about your company.
Yes. In the world, okay, there is two very differentiated regions. Okay, 15% of the world has mobile connectivity, and inside the mobile connectivity, you have the capability, you have the possibility of connecting something, a tracker, a sensor, for a very low price. This means that in the middle of city, you could have a tracker for $5 and $1 a month. This is the 15% of the world where is mobile coverage. In the other 85%, there is only satellite coverage. And satellite coverage since today, it means that you have to buy a satellite device. Satellite device, the name itself, it sounds expensive. Okay, exactly, and it is. It costs you $300, $400, $500 just a device, okay, plus $30, $40, $50 a month. This exactly is the reason why in this 15% of the world there are already 5 billion things connected, and the other 85% there is only 5 million. This related to 1 to 1,000. It's something that it make us think about it and say that must be one way to do exactly the same revolution that it has happened in cities, okay, in the rest of the world. We start looking at the standard devices, and what we saw is that standard devices have the capability, the power to connect directly to a low Earth satellite. This means a satellite that flies very close to Earth, around 500 to 700 kilometers of altitude, instead of the geostationary satellite that are at 30,000 kilometers away. Then the software needed to be modified, but one huge expertise that we have on our company and with my colleagues is the 3GPP. The 3GPP, this strange name, stands for the global organization that set up the standard for the mobile industry. Then we have been for the last 3 years contributing to the standard, and last year, June 2022, finally the new release of the standard was approved that allows at exactly the same $5 device that we're explaining in this 50% of the world, it will work in the other 85%. This changes everything, disrupts completely the IoT world in those places with no coverage of the mobile operators today.
Got it. Tell us more about the satellite. So is this like you launch a satellite that connects to cell towers sort of on Earth, and you're just extending coverage by connecting? It's like another cell tower in space. Is that accurate?
Exactly. It's connect direct to device. Okay, that we do not need. When basically, if you want to, what we are looking at, it's a way to be to have exponential growth. Okay, then the only way to do that is to have different providers. Okay, in different parts of the world that wanted to extend this coverage to these places. Okay, and these are the mobile operators. That's why we are just an extension of coverage of the mobile operators. And when the customers of the mobile operators lose the coverage, in a seamless way, exactly the same, because at the end, we are connecting with the mobile operators with a single roaming agreement. Exactly the same that happens when you travel to Canada or to Mexico, then the mobile phones, it connects automatically to the new provider. Exactly the same happens too with our cell towers in space, that the IoT devices, when they lose the connectivity of AT&T, Verizon, or whatever mobile operator, okay, it connects directly with our satellites, and the satellites downloads information to our ground stations, and we deliver it back through the single roaming agreement that we have with the mobile operators. More than 50 mobile operators and virtual mobile operators all around the world have already signed, although we don't have already commercial service till beginning next year, because we just have developed the technology, and now we are launching the first satellites that will be fully compatible, the first 5G IoT satellites of the world.
That's amazing. First 5G satellite of the world. I understand that was your satellite was on the Falcon 9 rocket that launched this month.
Exactly, the Transporter 7. We launched the first one, okay, and we are launching the second one, the second bunch of satellites, because this time we launched our first satellite March 2021. This was a experimental satellite. It's the one that have give us all the capability of developing all these contributions to the standard. Then we have launched the second satellite, which is a demonstrator. With these satellites, we're going to demonstrate the technology that have been already tested on a lab, that it works also from space. And in October, with Transporter 9, Falcon 9 again, okay, we are launching 4 more satellites that are the ones, okay, that will be the first commercial constellation in the world that work with fully standard devices.
Amazing. Yeah, you've been the founder, like I said, of several companies, even the number one telecom satellite operator in Europe, prior. So you've been doing a lot of things, leading a lot of companies, especially around this space. What's a guy like you do for fun?
We need to have a working life and a non-working life. That's compulsory. If not, it's absolutely impossible to survive. Okay. Then I love sports. Okay, I do a lot of biking. I do a lot of sailing. But as you know, okay, San Diego and Barcelona have something in common, which is the sea. Okay, then I love sailing. And today I go to see Bruce Springsteen, that is coming to Barcelona just this afternoon in a couple of hours.
Hi, my name's Nissa Van Meter, and I'm a senior electrical engineer with Fresh Consulting. So we can't talk about, changes to internet accessibility and not talk about low Earth orbit satellite internet. Here in the United States, for the first time, we have a consumer internet service that's delivering high-speed, reliable internet to rural communities. Starlink has essentially kickstarted a new race to tap into the rural market. I'm really excited to see more competitors in this space. Pun intended.
As we talk about the future, let's start with the current state. You started off telling us about the problem that Satel IoT is focused on, which is, hey, there's a lot of space, a lot of people that don't have internet access. 5 billion people worldwide do have internet access, but still there are people themselves who don't have internet access. And then, like you mentioned, there's a lot of space and territory itself where there's gaps. So what are kind of the biggest barriers that have, kept us from providing internet access to the world entirely in kind of the space? Has it been this lack of connection to satellites, or have there been other issues?
The highest barrier to give internet access to the rest of the world that have not. Today, we have the champion, which is Starlink, with no doubt, that may deliver internet access wherever you are at a fiber quality connectivity, which is amazing what he's doing. The point is that the device that Starlink is doing, it costs $500, and this means that just a few most of the people in Europe and most of the people in US may pay it, but most of the people in Africa cannot afford €500 device for having internet access. And the only way to reduce the cost of the device is a standardization. A standardization is the way, that to eliminate the lockdowns, increase competition, and decrease the cost of the device. This is for me, it's an obsession, to push for standard devices everywhere, because standard has it has allowed us to have a computer like this one in our pockets, for a fraction of the cost that it may cost to make it in a non-standard way. And I know that today I'm with an MNO, and if there is another mobile operator that gives me a much better offer, I will take it to the next one. Then all these advantages are the one that we have to bring the barriers down in order to deliver this internet access to this part of the world that does not have. And today, if you look at the United Nations chart, the internet access and the development status of the country, it's a linear line. It's completely tied one to each other.
Got it. So really, as we think about Starlink, you mentioned Starlink being now a leader in short order. They now have thousands of satellites and millions of customers. But I understand that there's still only, something like 8 to 10 million customers that are on satellite internet access. When you compare that to the global population of billions, that those numbers themselves show like, hey, they can't afford it, right? And so the idea that you can connect your everyday device also to a satellite will kind of broaden up the access overall. We're seeing movement along that front. The iPhone 14 from Apple also announced, they put in they announced $450 million investment with a partner company to try to get access, emergency access to those that had the iPhone 14 device. But that's not, that's just emergency access, right? Like if there's a true emergency, not the ability to kind of communicate in general. So it's your belief that, that's going to broaden essentially with companies like yours being able to connect with mobile carriers, that's going to broaden the access kind of worldwide in the future.
Listen, to have broadband connectivity direct to a mobile phone, it's expensive. It's expensive because it requires huge satellites with a lot of like a huge cell tower in the space, that delivers back to these small mobile phones everywhere. To deliver two-way messaging, this is much more affordable and sustainable. Our vision today is that broadband connectivity to the mobile phone direct to satellite will be working in developed countries, but not in developing countries. Okay, this will be a problem there because at the same time the density of population is much lower, and the satellite does not understand if they are over Texas or over an African country. Okay, it has the same capacity in both of them. This means that the return of your satellites is very high when you fly over a low populated area of United States, but it's zero when you fly over Rwanda. Okay, because they cannot afford it. Then what we are looking at, okay, and this is something that is going to happen in the short term. In the short term, it's 18 months. Okay, what we are looking at is that with the chipsets manufacturer of the mobile phones to include a very simple protocol like the one of the IoT, 5G IoT, inside the mobile phones. Which is this useful for? This will mean, okay, that you have two-way messaging everywhere in the world for a very low cost. And when I say very low cost, it means $1 a month. And this is not emergency. This is everyday use, okay, in everywhere. And this is honestly is the way that we see that will be disrupting the world in general. Because when you're in the middle of nowhere, of course we will love to see Netflix, okay, in the middle of the mountain, okay, but really with messaging we have more than enough of 95% of the applications that are needed on those places.
Got it. So what Apple's doing is interesting. It's helpful, but the future is that we can do broader messaging everywhere with where technology is going, and you're at the forefront of that. I noticed also that Starlink was collaborating with T-Mobile, and it seemed to be something kind of similar. Is that your understanding that Starlink will also provide a satellite connection to mobile carriers to try to bridge more coverage area?
Sure, they will do it. Okay. The problem here is that the use of spectrum. Okay, when you want to connect direct to mobile phone and deliver some kind of broadband connectivity, one of the problems is that you need to use a lot of spectrum. In the United States, FCC, it's one of the most advanced, I would say, no, not one, it's the most advanced regulator in the world. Okay. One of the things that I love in the United States is that nothing is forever. Okay. If we just need to change, we change it. Okay. And why not? Okay. That because in the past we were doing it, but it doesn't make any sense. Okay. To change it for the future if it's best for us, for all of us. Then FCC, has moved super fast in changing the regulation in order that the same spectrum, the spectrum, as you know, is a scarce resource. Okay. There is not all the spectrum in the world. Okay. The spectrum is the one that we have. Okay. And there is no more. Then in order to optimize the use of a spectrum, it's opening the possibility of using the spectrum of the mobile operators from a satellite. Okay. This will allow this connectivity from a satellite direct to a mobile phone. This is not going to happen in all the countries in the world. Okay. And then to have 10, 20 megahertz of a spectrum, which is the minimum that you will need in order to connect mobile phones directly to satellite with a certain speed. Okay. It will take a long way in most of the countries outside the US.
Tell us more about the impact to businesses, sort of the problems today, and how these future changes will enable commerce.
In IoT, the impact is huge in all the different sectors of the economy. Okay, we may start with logistics. Logistics stands for 13% of the world GDP. It's amazing. Okay? It's everything. All the different countries in the world, they have from 10 to 25% of the GDP depends on logistics. And in logistics, the supply chain problems that we have seen ourselves directly during the pandemic, when we realized that without knowing, okay, there was a lot of things around us that were coming from very far away. Okay, it could be solved measuring, optimizing, and taking and taking prevention before it happens. Okay, then if you know that the boat will arrive late, if the truck is not on the right time, okay, if your packet you will not be there. Okay, everything it's most of the things are solvable. Okay, you may stop it. Okay, then.
Just to pause you there for a second, we've experienced massive global supply chain problems in the last few years, right? And you're saying, hey, if we have more coverage from IoT, where we can have IoT devices versus just some periodic satellite communication, we can really understand that supply chain better and solve the problems faster. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh yes, with no doubt. Okay, a couple of months ago, we were with one of the biggest logistic company in the world, the largest logistic company in the world. Okay, they have around 500,000 refrigerated containers. Okay, all of them they have 5G IoT connectivity. Okay, to know the temperature, the humidity, the doors open, and the geolocalization. But what they say is that once it's on the boat, we lose it. Once it's on a truck of nowhere, we lose it. We don't know anything else. Okay, and there is a lot of food in this case. Okay, that is transported with these containers. Okay, that we just lose because waste, because we lose refrigeration. There is hundreds of thousands of containers they are lost every year in the middle of nowhere. Okay, we have another application. Okay, it's a company that just control if the container doors are open or closed. Okay, and they control because they don't want that nobody puts inside the container things that they have not to be there in order to use the same. Then there is and finally, okay, that we are working with a company in San Diego that has a tag, okay, that attached to a packet, okay, and it has a printed NB-IoT device. Then you may know exactly where your packet is in all the moments. Then if you live in New York, what we are doing will have no impact because of course there is coverage everywhere. But if you live in a house outside the city, okay, we all have experience, okay, that our mobile phone stops working once we go a little bit away from the big cities.
I think geographical diversity is probably the biggest barrier for getting reliable global internet access. We're really spread out, and it's not practical to run millions of miles of cables to reach all these small pockets of rural communities. That's where we really need an alternative.
What are some other industries that have like massive problems like this? Can you speak to just broadly some other industries, maybe agriculture or others?
Of agriculture, what we have, the amazing part of everything that we are doing is that it's not something that we need to develop of the ecosystem. There is people that is already using the same sensors, the same devices in places where there is connectivity. And what they have experienced is that they use 40% less water, which is wow, because there is a world problem with water consumption. Okay, the much less fertilizers, and at the same time they increase the yield of the agriculture. Why? Because you use when your crop is going to get yield. Okay, much before it happens. Then all this combined, okay, it creates a huge impact on the agriculture as is today. Okay, the problem today is that in most of the places, there are countries like Brazil. Okay, we were with Roberto in Brazil. Brazil has 25% of the GDP depends on agriculture. US, it also has an agriculture industry which is huge. Okay, in cattle management, it's amazing what that we have. We don't have because we don't manufacture devices. Okay, but there is around 50 companies in the world that already manufacture devices for cattle management. It's a collar, okay, that it measures all the constant vitals of the cow. Okay, they know if they eat, if they don't eat, if they move, where it is, if it gets pregnant, it's not. Okay, then what we have seen in places where there is already coverage and they have installed this kind of digital cows. Okay, that there is 24% of less deaths due to illness. Okay, because you detected before. It's not because anything else. Okay, it's because you have the capability of knowing what's happening on real time on your cows. Just in the United States, there is millions of cows. Okay, hundreds of millions of cows that are in the middle of the mountains. Okay, all these may be monitorized from the central and jointly with the smart with machine learning. Okay. Or artificial intelligence, you may really assess and change the way that the business it's done. There are others like oil and gas or renewable energies. Since today, okay, the energy was generated in few places and was spent in a lot of places. With renewable energies, this has changed, okay, because today electricity is generated in a lot of different places. Then what is called the smart grid, it's super important because it detects, okay, when there is sun in Texas and there is no sun in California, then that the Texas people is injecting electricity on the network, on the grid, okay, and then you have to slow down other funds, other sources of energy. All this combined, okay, it saves more than 15% of the total energy, which is wow. Okay, and this is only because we could measure all on the same times. Oil and gas, pipelines, highways. We got a pilot in New Mexico, okay, that it detects when there is sandstorms, okay, that covers the highway and to cut it down. Then it's for safety. Then in the United States, we have a lot of infrastructure that they have that they are quite old. Okay, monetize all this. It avoids a lot of accidents and a lot of human losses. See what happened in Italy with Ponte Vecchio. Okay, that it just fall down. Okay, completely. And killing a lot of people with a lot of human losses. This after the analysis of what happened. Once it was too late, okay, it detected that there was a movement of the bridge, okay. It may be detected it was monetized, okay. All this is the different industries, okay, that there is a huge impact. All these industries that there are outside the coverage of the mobile operators because the others they're already digitalized. So these ones that needs to be digitalized, fishing industry and all the maritime. Just think on life jackets that may be geolocalized. Okay, you know the number of hours that our army, okay, or our safeguards spend trying to localize where there is somebody that have fallen down from a boat. It's awesome. Okay, then with a $5 device, you may know where exactly is the people that has fall down in the middle of nowhere.
Jaume, we were talking about business applications and how, the future of IoT connectivity via satellites can help transform businesses and industries in general. You mentioned some really big statistics about how, major macro industries could be affected. If I were to give kind of an analogy, is this more like, as you think about the human being and healthcare, there's a big push for preventative medicine, where it's like you can monitor things before they happen. So you don't get in the end and all of a sudden you need a massive surgery because you have cancer or whatever it is. You have a major heart condition. It sounds like a lot of these use cases you're describing are like, hey, if we have more intel, more connectivity to these disparate areas, then we can prevent a lot of waste and improve a lot of the outcomes because we have the intelligence to monitor things more real time. Is that a kind of a good macro analogy?
That's perfect. It's the digitalization of this 85% of the world that today it cannot be done. Okay, today satellite communications are just used for critical IoT applications. You have a $12 million truck in an open air mining resource. That's perfect because you don't care about the cost of the satellite device. But when you have millions or hundreds of millions of cows, it's impossible to control all of them.
Got it. Going back to, thanks for these business examples. Going back to, the war we've been experiencing between Russia and Ukraine. It was really interesting to see how an entire country could kind of almost go dark and lose serious connectivity. But then, within short order, you could bring in, a satellite provider and set up, thousands of terminals. As I understand it, there's as many as 20,000 terminals now, Starlink terminals in Ukraine, providing internet access where they otherwise were, in the dark, and even just normal human beings couldn't connect and say, hey, I'm safe, or critical strategy kind of operations couldn't communicate one with another. Do you have any comments on that? Because I think that's it's a sort of a groundbreaking thing that happened in the last 12 months.
Yes, our technology, okay, that it's the Internet of Things. It has a special application on the battlefield. Okay, the Internet of Battlefield Things, as you've seen, okay, one of the main problems in Russia army was logistics. Okay, to move all these assets to a new country, it requires a huge amount of intelligence on the field. Okay, and of course, when you are in your country, okay, you cannot rely on the telecommunications of other countries. Then Internet of Battlefield Things is something that we are looking at. It's something that we are super prepared because what we are doing, we have several projects in order to securitize, okay, the communications, because of course this is part of the key point. We are involved in several projects about QKD, about quantum key distribution, in order to securitize 3GPP or 5G telecommunications in order to be used to just track all these assets. Doesn't matter if it's a refrigerator, if it's a tank, or if it's a soldier. Okay, all this part of the logistics. There is a lot much more than just a soldier. It's all the food, okay, that you need, all the fuel that you need to fill the tanks. Okay, everything, all this part. It's one of the part that I think that Russia it's missing, and it's one of the big problems that they have found, that they were not prepared logistically to afford it.
I think one of the often overlooked industries that will really benefit from a more broad coverage internet access is the utilities industry, specifically the electrical grid. In the United States, we have millions of miles of power lines, much of which are running in, unpopulated areas through the mountains, the deserts, and the forests. Having a widespread and also low-cost connectivity option is going to open up all kinds of logistics, maintenance, sustainability technologies to support and hopefully to improve one of our critical national infrastructures.
If your convoy goes dark and you don't have fuel or food, right, there's serious issues. And so the battlefield of kind of IoT connectivity and then the satellite being a part of that is a big part of would be a big part of any country's strategy if they're in war.
Yes, for sure. The connected soldier, it's one part of the question, okay, but having connectivity, having secure connectivity there, it's a huge important one.
Certainly, Russia probably didn't anticipate, Elon sending thousands of satellites over in short order, and then the rest of the U.S. and Europe kind of supporting, adding even more. But that seems to be a critical kind of aspect to their ability to defend themselves.
Oh yes. Communication is vital. Okay, and when you know that knowledge in the field, it's something that is super valuable in these cases. And I think that Russia here has have feel themselves completely in the dark compared to the light that all the Starlink communication has given to the Ukrainian people.
Let's shift to the future a little bit. So there's a lot of groundbreaking things happening right now. We've seen what's happened with Starlink in the last few years. You guys have just launched your second major satellite, and you have many more coming to try to bring cheap internet access and IoT access to 85% of the rest of the world. There's other telecom providers that are trying to connect with satellites, given that there's so much to gain from this sort of connectivity, especially if you can do it at low cost. You mentioned countries like Africa and the barrier for them accessing, what's going on with the rest of the satellite providers. If we have this sort of groundbreaking things happening now, as if we were to look to the future, 15 to 20 years from now, what do you envision? Obviously, access, would be a big part of that. But tell us more about your vision for the future, because you're a pioneer. And you are, you're someone who is creating the future right now. Tell us more about what you envision.
The digitalization of the world is something that is going to happen with a super low cost connectivity, which means, that when you turn up or down a light, you don't think about how much does it cost this light to invite you, then we are going to have around 20 IoT devices connected for each mobile phone, and this means that all these health problems that when envisioning, the personal IoT will be part of our life, and everything will be connected. So there is a lot of intelligence, a lot of things to win. If all the different objects around us, it's perfectly coordinated, and this will be thanks to the communication, to the mobile communications and satellite communications. There was something that is super curious, that for the last 20 years we have had a Mobile World Congress in Barcelona and a satellite in Washington. This is not happening anymore. Satellite and mobile connectivity will be just one, merging seamlessly in one transparent network that will cover all the world.
That's amazing. Any other thoughts on the future as we we try to forecast what's coming?
What's coming? What's coming is the satellite industry is transforming super fast. New space, there is already hundreds, not 100,000, but tens of thousands of satellites flying around us. This will be increasingly. The new Starship, will decrease again in a disruptive way the cost of putting things in space. The moon, it's the first, that for sure we will be living there. We'll have a permanent base on the moon. And in the telecommunications on the Earth, observing you'll be also amazing changes. When you may have a 2 meters vision anywhere in the world in real time. This change again a lot of the way that we react. This will impact with no doubt on the environmental. The world, one of the things that all of us we have to when you start a new disruptive business like the one that we are doing, you have to think on both ways. How to be a sustainable, a super profitable business, but at the same time we all have to be aware that our planet have a lot of challenges, and we may be part of the solution. Our technology per se, it allows to save energy, water, optimize for production, etc., and reduce CO2. Okay, but at the same time, what we are doing, when you have a global constellation, you have global coverage and a lot of capacity everywhere. Okay, and there are some places where the best way to use this capacity is to offer it to NGOs. That's exactly what we're doing. We are signing with NGOs all around the world. We have already signed with NGOs, amazing NGOs like SOS Amazonia, that it takes care of the forestry, or Worldwide Fund that it does tracking of endangered species in order to offer them free of charge connectivity in these places. And this again, it's disrupting, and it's something that it will change completely the way when we may track the 100% of the endangered species that there are out there, because it will be free of cost for them. We expect, okay, that have a huge impact on.
My name's Reg Orton. I am the Director of Product Development here at Fresh. My background with internet access is interesting. I started a company back in 2012 called Brick that was developing telecommunications hardware for underserved communities across Africa and Southeast Asia and South America, where we were building edge connectivity devices, Wi-Fi, 5G, 4G devices, and base stations that allowed the internet to get into more and more rural areas and more low-income areas. Access to internet is a really interesting topic, and it's often oversimplified to either users having devices or having access to signal, but really there's a big waterfall of requirements needed to get someone access to the content they need. And if you think about it, smartphones and high power, low cost smartphones have meant that the rollout of those devices, there are many more devices available, and there are many more devices in people's hands now than there previously have been. We're now seeing 64% of the global population having internet access.
How have you guys thought about, AI and these, two kind of things converging as we think about the future?
It's without AI, massive IoT connectivity is useless. Okay, when you have a weather station in the middle of your crops, okay, it's easy, okay, because you could look at it every 1 hour, okay, and know if it rains, if not. But when you have 10,000 sensors, it's impossible, okay? You need AI, okay, with all the algorithms that detects when you need to fertilize, when you need to waterize, and when you need to do something, okay, in your field, okay? Then AI and massive IoT, it goes hand by hand, because without the sensors, you don't know what's happening, and without AI, you don't know which is the result of what you are measuring, all these tens of thousands of sensors that you are putting on the field.
Got it. So the AI and machine learning will make all of this data more usable. I think that's one of the key things we saw with ChatGPT recently, just a small sliver of AI, but the generative AI aspect of putting a conversational interface over a large language model, it just made all that information a lot more user-friendly. So if we take that analogy and say, okay, hey, we're going to create, similar sort of conversational AI, user-friendly information over these large data sets, then I could envision that also making things progress a lot quicker, because like you said, it's one thing to have all that data, but it's useless unless you're really interpreting it and making it actionable, right?
That's exactly what's happening. Okay, with all this data, we may start learning a lot. Okay, we may react much faster, and we may get conclusions for the results. And this is a virtual circle that it fits itself. Okay, and makes things much better every day.
Do you have any forecasts of how many IoT devices we'll have in 10 years or 20 years? Is it going to be an exponential curve?
Yes, the measurements or the forecast that we have been seeing is that by 2013 it will be 200 billion IoT devices. 200 billion, okay? And these are all kind of small ones for your dog and your cat and your bird and your refrigerator and your bicycle and your boat and your windsurfing, everything, your light jacket, of course your watch, everything will be measured, everything will be everything. It's at the same time, okay, privacy, it's a concern, okay. All this data, we have to take care of it, okay, and we have to be really aware of all these risk with countries not so friendly with the data of others, okay. That it's really something that we don't have to think that this has no importance, okay, that nothing happens. It happens, okay, and the government here have to take a hard role on it.
That's interesting. So just high level, if we're at 5 billion or 10 billion now, we're talking a 20 to 40x increase by 2030 in roughly 7 years. It's going to be a massive increase in IoT devices.
Massive increase. IoT devices everywhere because the IoT devices are getting cheaper and cheaper. When I was talking about the tag, okay, they want to have a tag for $2. Okay, a $2 tag that you may track everything. Okay, that doesn't matter. Whatever you
Why
want.
not put that on 100 of your things and have your own digital twin home, right? Or your, the digital twin of your business. If you can track everything, then that's huge.
That's huge. Temperature, monitor the temperature of the different rooms. Okay, it would be that easy. Then all your different plants at home. Okay, it's for $2. You know when you have to waterize. Then all these small things that today seem to be incredibly easy to do. Okay, but it will be much easier when we digitalize.
Who are the big companies that are will be involved in providing these IoT devices? Do any companies come to mind, or is that just the typical big kind of chip makers?
The chip makers are two in the world. Okay, one of the reasons we're in San Diego is because we are part of the Qualcomm accelerator. Okay, that it's Nexus, and that's what Qualcomm is doing in the world. It's amazing. Okay, it's without them, we are losing a big part of this advancement. The other it's MediaTek, and there are some others in the world, but not much. Okay, there are very few companies that they are on the forefront of the communications technology. Okay, and apart from that, okay, the chips are few. Then the RF modules, which is the one that use the chips, okay, are a little bit more, but not that much, maybe 50 companies. But then, and which is the nice part of the standard, you have thousands of companies that does different things for different applications. And this is the point, okay, that when you have a $10 device, okay, modem that could communicate anything you want, and you may integrate because it's fully a standard with your idea. Okay, we have seen we have seen not just in cows but also for bees. Okay, for monitoring the beecombs. Okay, for monitoring small boats, for the networks of the fishers, for everything. Okay, then you start thinking and you say, wow, if they're so cheap.
Yeah, access to internet is a really interesting topic. Well, more and more people have access to devices, and that's been spread with the access, really low cost, really high power smartphones now being available to so many more of the population than previous, has meant that there are more and more people that have internet access devices. Signal is getting further and further out there. The satellite connectivity, Starlink, Viasat-3, then some of the new low-cost satellite providers mean that more and more people have access to signal. But then there are lots of other requirements, like do they have access to power to charge their device? If they've got access to power, are they within a signal area? If they're within a signal area, is that affordable? Do they have access to an affordable data plan? And if they have access to an affordable data plan, they have signal, they have power, they have a device, is the information they're looking for available to them in a local language? Is it discoverable? Is it relevant to what they're looking at or what they're looking for? so many things that, drive access to the internet that are not just related to having a device are critical here. What technologies have had the biggest effect on internet access recently? Edge caching, CDN, and hyperlocalization have had a huge effect on how to distribute content down to users, and also how to reduce the cost. So we're seeing now Google caches, Cloudflare caches, AWS caches are now popping up, not just internationally, not just between countries. We're seeing them across the nation. We're seeing them down to the city level where, AWS and Google are putting in caches that are distributing content and caching content right down, at the ISP level. And that's helped reduce the cost of delivery when you see that, up to 80% of that content is cacheable when you're looking at streaming content, when you're looking at social media content. And one of the things that we were looking at Brick was how can you even push that further? Can you get that content? Can you get relevant content cached and available at a very, very low cost and high speeds and high bandwidth down at the village level, or down, even in, can you cache in someone's house? Can you cache in public transit? And again, that helps reduce the cost. It helps improve the speeds, and that means the backhaul is more capable. Google released a statement recently that they anticipate they won't be long before the fiber networks between countries won't keep up with the amount of data they have to move between their data centers. And that even translates down to how do they do the cache fills down at the national scale pops? How do they do cache fill right the way down to the city level? And so, in order to get people more access, we need to look at how do we improve that whole value chain from just pure data centers to the transit networks to the CDNs and the edge caches, and then the last mile as well. Internet access in the next 10 years or 20 years, well, internet access is becoming more ubiquitous in the Western world, and it's even becoming more ubiquitous in the developing world as well. And you're seeing things, high-speed satellites, Viasat-3, Starlink, more and more satellites are going up in the sky that are distributing content right way, basically across the entire globe. We're seeing that cost of the internet getting lower and lower. We're seeing the competition in the space getting higher, and it's getting to the point that I wouldn't be surprised if the internet was effectively free in the next 10 to 20 years, with that content and that cost of distribution being taken on by content providers and people that really just need that, are pushing to get their content in front of eyeballs.
What drives you? What keeps you driving towards all this next level innovation? Tell me more about your drive.
The passion for innovation and for disrupting new businesses that we may change the world with ideas. It's amazing, and it's something that when I left my last company, I said, let's take a rest. Maybe it's time to retire, and it lasts me a couple of months. Again, wanted to be on the field.
Got it. How do you stay healthy as an entrepreneur? It's hard to kind of keep a good balance.
Yes. A sport, you have to try to make a break and to do a lot of sport. Sport cleans up your head and allows you to start. Entrepreneur world, it has a lot of nice moments, but has a lot of hard moments for all of us. That we all have passed through this, and if you are not mente sana and corpore sano, it's something that for sure is a real truth.
Thanks for that advice about taking breaks and getting involved in athletics and sports. And that's one thing that keeps me grounded. I recently I tore my calf muscle, and I realized in the 3 or 4 weeks that I wasn't able to get out and exercise, my stress levels went up quite a bit. Getting that break, taking a break, and getting that stress release is really important, especially as an entrepreneur where you're often working nights and weekends, or you're working really heavy hours. As we think about the future, technology kind of has a life of its own a little bit. We talked about how fast things are moving across a few different spaces, not to mention what's happening with telecom and satellite. Even though it takes a lot of work with, government agencies sometimes to change a standard, technology is still, it moves so quickly. as we think about designing the future of internet access with intent and make sure that we're doing good for humanity, do you have any other final thoughts as relate to doing good? You mentioned some examples here where we're providing good, but sometimes we launch technology so fast, we don't contemplate also the bad and the things that we got to be mindful from an ethical perspective. Any thoughts to round off from that angle?
I think that the technologies per se, that it is not good or bad. Okay, I believe. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, but I believe that all the energies may have a good impact on humanity. Okay, it's only the use of this technology. Okay, that sometimes it's doing wrong. Everything is scared. Everybody's scared about AA. Everybody's scared about telecommunications. Having city robots, okay, all these technologies, okay, that in the past our history shows, okay, that all this technology may be used on a good way, on a bad way. We just have to focus on the good way to use it, because all this will help us. We are living much better than our grandfathers, our parents, okay, and I am sure that our grandsons will live much better than we do.
Thank you. Appreciate that advice. And I agree with you that technology can be good or bad. And it's our prerogative and our imperative to focus on the good and shape it, as pioneers in the space. Jaume, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, to learn from you. And thank you for being a pioneer and an innovator. And we're looking forward to watching Satel IoT and watching it grow and seeing how you can change the future.
I'm sure that we'll talk again soon, okay, since we keep launching more satellites. It has been a pleasure to have this time with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaume, and have fun at your concert tonight. You're heading out to a concert?
Yes, the boss.
Amazing. All right, well, have fun, and thanks for being with us this evening.
Thank you very much. Bye.
The Future of Podcast is brought to you by Fresh Consulting. To find out more about how we pair design and technology together to shape the future, visit us at freshconsulting.com. Make sure to search for The Future of in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And on behalf of our team here at Fresh, thank you for listening.